Hello and welcome to the Select Characters podcast. I'm Sam Yates, and today I will be your host. Christopher Anderson could not make it to the studio this afternoon, so you've got me, and you've also got Enrique Cancel.
Hello.
And Jamie Van Lent.
Hello.
And this amazing trio will be leading you through this week as we move on through the podcast. Let's move right into it and talk about what we have been playing. Let's start with Jamie.
I've been playing quite a lot. The main thing I've been playing a lot of is this month's free PlayStation Plus game was a game called The Deadly Tower of Monsters.
Okay.
Which is like an odd little indie game.
Tell me more.
The whole concept behind it is it's like an Asian B movie.
Jamie?
The screenshots I've seen make it look really cool.
Yeah, it's like an 50s B movie, but the whole thing is the director's commentary, so the whole time you're playing the game, you're listening to the director commentate everything that's going on, which there's a lot of funny moments in there, and towards the end of the game, I don't want to ruin anything, but it gets quite trippy and weird.
Is it like the Stanley Parable kind of narrator?
Kind of. I haven't really played that game, but from what I understand, it's pretty similar.
Like big monsters and people in alien suits and ray guns.
Yeah, and all of
stuff,
like
right?
the aliens are deliberately designed to look kind of crap in a way. Like there's an alien in the game, for example, that just looks like a dog with part of a vacuum cleaner stuck on it. And the director explains that's
Okay.
because they literally got a dog and stuck part of a vacuum cleaner on it to play one of the aliens in the movie.
That sounds almost as good as a Trigger.
And there's stuff like even the regular aliens and stuff, and there's dinosaurs in the game, and they're deliberately animated in a way that makes them look stop motion. But then there's other monsters that are just people in suits, and so everything just looks different and weird and just really cool.
Like it's a movie set, basically, like a low-budget movie
set. It just
set.
works really well together.
Is it like a twin-stick
it's a
shooter?
top-down,
Or
sort of twin-stick shooter, although it's a lot more sort of focused on the melee aspect. You've got like a big stick weapon that you can use, rather than just shooting. I definitely recommend picking it up. Like, it's free on PlayStation Plus at the moment, so anyone who's got PlayStation Plus should just definitely download it and play it anyway. And if not, I think it's like $15, and it's definitely worth it.
Seems cool. I've definitely seen it from time to time. Never really jumped on my radar enough, but I mean, free is free.
I've been playing Titanfall 2 a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I've only got a little ways through the campaign, so I can't really comment on the campaign. But from what I've played of the multiplayer, I'm really not enjoying it that much.
Enrique gave us a pretty glowing review of that, like last week.
I actually finished it.
The campaign, like I said, I can't really comment on. What's the campaign like? Is that worth sticking through and getting to the end?
I mean, I liked it. I thought it actually had a really cool story. It takes some twists, but I mean, you essentially take over, bond with that mech, and you have to carry out its mission. But it's got like I think it's a standard kind of sci-fi campaign. Like, finish the mission by all degrees. You find out like the enemy has like this big doomsday weapon. You have to stop it. So it's like a by the numbers kind of like action story. But I think the mechanics are really cool. The different mechs you fight are actually really, really neat. They have different models now, like as opposed to like, I think the 3 that were in the last one. And it's cool. Like every boss, quote unquote, you fight actually has a little cameo entrance. It's kind of like reminds you of like the original Borderlands, where they do like a little stop motion, kind of like this is the boss. So I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it, dude. I thought it was actually, as far as shooters go, it was really fun.
Have you played a lot of the multiplayer?
Yeah, actually, I'm digging it. So what parts don't you like about it?
As I say, I played a lot of the original Titanfall. Like, I've spent way too many hours playing that game. And I liked that it was different from most first-person shooters. I feel like a lot of first-person shooters these days are just way too similar. They all have the same, like, really low health. Everything's, like, really fast-paced, where as soon as you've got an enemy in your sights, they're dead before you finish pulling the trigger. And the same the other way around. Like, as soon as an enemy spots you, you're dead without really having a chance to react to it. Whereas Titanfall gave you a chance. There was, like, a lot of times where you'd start getting shot, then you'd be able to use, the running mechanics and all that stuff to get yourself out of there, possibly get behind, and it just makes it feel like there's more of a skirmish there. There's more of a equal fight going on between you and this other guy, and the best man wins, rather than just being a battle of reflexes of, like, the first person to see the other person kills them. Which I found, like, not, like, it works both ways in terms of like you die a lot more, and I feel like when I do kill someone, I don't really get that sense of achievement anymore. Like in the first game, every time I killed someone, I felt like, yeah, I earned that. Whereas now it's sort of just like, okay, another kill.
No, I can see that. Like, because in the original game, you're right. Like, it was kind of a pacing thing where running into somebody, you had enough time to like run away, wall run, try to like flank them from the left and all that stuff. And then because you also had like the little, I guess the bots running around as well, it's a lot easier to break away, get into cover. So I can kind of see what you mean by that. They definitely did, I guess, mainstream the multiplayer a lot this time around, where it does feel like you're just racking up kill after kill.
Same with the Titans too. Like the Titans die a lot easier than they did in the first game, and you don't get the Titan falls as often as you did in the first one either. Like,
yeah, but I think that's also kind of to offset it because like the way the kill streaks is what I'd call them work. That because like the human enemies are, I guess, a little bit easier to kind of go through, they almost had to offset it because you're going for more quantity over quality now.
I was watching a stream and this guy was just dying. I mean, constantly. It seemed like every life that he lived was maybe 20 seconds long or so. Just like rapidly back to spawn over and over and over again. And then at the end of that match, he was on the top of the scoreboard. So it's like insane how much you die and respawn and start over again. So I imagine that's like a direct result, because even that stood out to me. I was like, wow, guy's dying a lot. And then, wow, that guy's the best in this match.
I thought that was a lot less frequent, and I thought like your lives were longer in the first game. Like you could survive more or less an entire round if you were good enough. Whereas this,
as opposed to just now,
I don't think even the best player would be able to survive like an entire round unless they were like camping or something.
Like you poke your head around the corner and you're pretty much like guaranteed to get shot within the next 5 seconds.
And especially like when someone shoots you from behind, you just like, okay, well, you just got to accept fate.
Yeah, it depends, man. Like in a way, I kind of like it because it makes the multiplayer a little bit more frantic. So you're constantly kind of like, because one thing that I hate is that when you have like that really long downtime between dying and spawning, especially in multiplayer games like that. And I think that fast respawn mechanic, even though it does kind of make it seem like it's like the kills are cheaper in a way. At least from a player standpoint, it makes it a little bit, I guess, less frustrating. You don't have like that penalty of death where you have to sit back and wait for respawn and watch. Because I mean, even playing Counter-Strike, just watching like the kill cam, be like, all right, and I just gotta sit here, fuck this game. With this, I mean, yeah, like you said, you die, but you immediately like you respawn back and you're like, fuck it, let me just jump in again. I think it keeps, at least for me, it keeps with the pace of it, so it's a little bit easier for me to just get into it and just kind of keep playing a couple rounds and then put it down. Rather than to have like that weird frustration, even with Overwatch, as much as I love Overwatch, and I think it's probably one of the more fun multiplayer shooters, it's still frustrating when you die to something was bullshit, and you're like, fuck, I can get back, I just need to get back real quick, and you still got to wait the however many seconds to respawn again. It's like, it kind of gets rid of that frustration.
Yeah. I'm not too much of a fan of the leveling system either. The leveling system works in a really weird way. Like the first one was very traditional. You get XP for kills, you get more XP for killing Titans, and then you get XP for winning or less XP for losing. Whereas this one works kind of like based on, I don't know if it's called like merits or something, where you'll get like 50 kills, and that's just one like medal or something, and you have to get a certain number of medals to get to the next level, and all of your weapons level individually based on the same sort of medal system, where if you get a certain number of headshots with the weapon, then you get a certain number of things to level up.
Yeah, I can't remember what shooter. I don't know if it was like the last Call of Duty, but a couple of shooters have been doing that recently now, where like you basically get rewarded for using the weapon that you like in a way, and I can see the merits to that because again, you don't feel like you have to kind of like be forced to play with everything else. If you just really want to stick to one thing, you can kind of just get excel at it.
That I did think. But that was kind of like a problem in the first one a little bit, where when you had to regen, like basically prestige into the next level of pilot, it would sometimes force you to play with weapons that you don't want to. Like there was one where I had to get like a certain number of kills with a sniper.
Yep, before you get
so I found like it completely changed my... And I ended up just camping for a few rounds just so I could like grind all these kills out of the way and finally level up. So I guess there is that aspect of it, but at the same time I prefer just like an XP based system of like... I guess it's more traditional and old school to just have XP.
I see what you mean. I mean, I do like, though, that there's less reliance on the smart pistol, because that was kind of like a bullshit weapon in the first one. Like, the smart pistol was the one that kind of just auto-locked to like 6 or 7 targets, and I mean, I don't know. Like I can appreciate the first one for like you said, like they had that scrimmage, but I felt like certain matches really were just a matter of who could, hold the auto pistol a lot longer. So,
Do you think that it's a measure to kind of prevent farming the way that EXP funnels into like big chunks called merits, and you can't just get a ton of little XP? Like I imagine you cap at a certain amount of merits, right? So maybe they don't want people making games where they just farm up experience or something. Was that a problem in the first one?
Not that I know of.
yeah, not that I remember. Because
what you're telling me is that you're limited, right? I mean, no matter how many kills you get, you're only going to get this merit from it.
Well, I think it's like a cumulative thing. So it's like
in what way?
The merits are, for example, getting like 50 kills or getting 100 kills or getting 50 headshots or 100 headshots. So once you've reached the 50 headshots, then you're working towards the 100.
Yeah, I mean, like you get experience regardless. The merits just give you like bonus XP. So it's not like that's your only source of reward. It's just once you reach that merit, it's like, hey, you just reached this. They're more like milestones.
But when you level up, it's like when you're going from like level 7 to level 8, for example, it says you need 12 merits rather than you need 10,000 XP. It's you have to get those merits to level up.
Yeah, so that is the downside because you do get like it's weird because like you get your XP, but you still have there certain levels are gated by those merits, where some of them are easier to get than others. It reminds me of you remember like Legend of Zelda being able to like access those heart doors.
Yes.
I think it was Majora's Mask where like you need a certain number of hearts to like enter this area for like the hidden areas.
I don't remember that, but I believe you.
Okay. But yeah, so I mean, I could see it both ways. I think have you been playing by yourself, or have you been playing with like players?
No,
that
I've just been playing by myself at the moment. I've been trying to get into some free-for-all game modes because the idea of I love free-for-all in all shooters, so the idea of that in Titanfall was amazing, but I literally haven't been able to get into a game. I sat in a waiting room for, I think, an hour last night, just waiting for players to join, but it could only find 10 players at a max out of 12, and just couldn't get in.
And you're playing
it
you're on PlayStation?
platform?
4, yeah.
Damn, that sucks.
That must be the community must be really not that active. Damn.
Or maybe they're just not playing free for all,
Could be.
or something. Like that game has a lot of hoppers, right? If I remember right, or at least what I saw.
There's a lot of game modes too, which I think can cause a little bit of dilution.
Mm-hmm. You just don't have enough people queuing for that particular game.
Yeah,
mode,
I think so.
That could be it.
Well, neat. I guess that's cool. Overall impressions are all right. I suppose.
I keep wanting to go
I'm
back
getting.
to it, so there's got to be something right there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you've been playing this week?
They finally released Destroy All Humans, the original PlayStation 2 game, onto the PlayStation 4, so I platinumed that in the space of like a week.
I love that title when it first came out.
Yeah, I love those games. So even the bad ones, I love. It's just a lot of fun.
Which was it Big Willy?
Yeah, Big Willy Unleashed and Path of the Furon. People hate.
Path of the Furon just got weird because you had like that weird old alien mentor.
I still love it though. It's still a lot of fun.
Right.
So yeah, I literally just downloaded that, played nothing but that for a good week, platinumed it, and now I'm just waiting for them to re-release the rest on PS4.
Neat.
Cool. I never actually played those games. What's going on in there?
You play...
They're like GTA style games except you just play an alien.
Yeah. And it's a...
Okay.
And that's
That
another
doesn't
thing. It's
sound
like
so
a 50s B movie again.
Yeah. And you get like a lot of fun alien themed weapons. Like there's like was it like the probulator or whatever it was called?
The anal probe that like you shoot an enemy with it and they like run along holding their ass and then their brain pops out.
Yeah. And they had like I think it was
Wow.
like an
Hold on.
abduction beam where you could abduct cows and drop
I need a quick timeout. I need a quick timeout. Just for 1 second. Because it sounded like you said they run around holding their butt and then their brain pops
their head
out.
just explodes, their brain pops out, and then you just collect it for DNA.
That's a terrible thing to do to somebody.
I mean, hey, that's what the probulator does.
Why does it have to go in that way?
Where else do you think aliens probe you?
Oh, dude, wow. But, man.
I mean, it's...
As far as, like, ways to get to the brain.
Well, I mean, it's... Because a lot of that stuff is kind of like... It's based on, like, what the whole, like, theme of aliens was back in the 50s, where, you know, they're little green men from Mars that are, you know, abducting our women and cows and probing people in the anus.
Yeah. And as far as all of the, like, AI in the game is concerned, you're not an alien, you're just a communist. So everyone's running about and shouting about communist invasions.
They even have I actually really like the abduction. I think it was an abduction gun, but basically you could abduct cows, and then like a flying saucer will come pick the cow up, and you can just drop it on somebody as pretty much like a bomb.
Well, that game sounds pretty cool.
They were. I mean, it was a really fun thing.
No, that's it.
Anything else? Cool. That's a good list, though. Some interesting stuff in there. Let's do Enrique next, man. Talk to me about video games.
I finished Titanfall 2. I really like the story. Like I said, it felt like playing to like a really cool classic sci-fi flick. They have like I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really cool gimmick they have in I think one or two of the levels where you're basically shifting back and forth through different time periods, and you do it like the press of a button. So it's really really cool. Kind of like it's they have like some slight puzzles where you have to like shift back to the past, do something, shift back to the present to like proceed and all that stuff. It's nothing too complicated, but it was done in a way where it was a really neat trick, but it didn't become like really overwhelming or too overcomplicated.
I'm definitely hearing a lot of praise for that campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like I said, I think the campaign was just really well done, but I also think though that if you hold that campaign to other like shooters or even just other first-person shooters, like first-person games in general, it's probably middle of the road. But I think it's because it's being compared to the first one so much, where the campaign was just like non-existent. That when you go from 0 to even like 5, that's still like a 500% increase.
Right.
So it's not I'm not saying it's bad. Like I think it's fun enough. If anything, I mean, like Jamie said, there's something about it that keeps him coming back. I finished plowing through it, and I mean, I didn't put it down. I thought it was really cool, and I was wanting to kind of keep going and see what happened the next game. So that was fun. I played Overcooked on the PS4, which is really fun. It's a great way if you want to ruin a relationship as well. It's
what's that one?
It's a couch co-op game. It's like Diner Dash and Cookie Mama and all that.
Oh, is that the one with the trucks and stuff?
Sometimes, yes. Basically, it's up to 4 players, and you're basically like 4 chefs, and you have to serve customers, but they do it in like these zany like levels where one you're in the middle of a volcano and you have to jump between stations on like moving rocks of lava. There's one when you're on the back of like trucks racing down the highway, so you have to jump between overpasses and everything like that. It gives you like a lot of obstacles, so you have like that whole kind of Diner Dash setup where like, okay, get the ingredients, okay, now serve the food and all that and put it out. But then you have all these other obstacles in the way, which kind of makes it a task management / puzzle game. And then when you apply that to a cooperative game, it kind of like it gets really frustrating, but really fun as well. So I was having a blast with that. I was playing with my girlfriend, and there were times where we were kind of like yelling at each other's throats, like, how did you mess up the salami? Like, why can't you jump over here right? But it's pretty cool.
That sounds good, yeah. If I remember right, the story to that game is like somebody comes to destroy the world, but you couldn't feed them enough or something, so you go back in time to train. Is that accurate?
Vaguely. I think it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't pay too much attention to the story. From what I gathered, it was you're basically trying to save the world through cooking.
Yeah, maybe that is that one. I can't remember if that's that one or a different one, but like some apocalyptic god shows up and destroys the world because he can't be fed, but somebody goes back in time to train their cooking enough to be able to feed him and save everybody. Maybe that's that one. Maybe that's a different one, but still a good premise regardless.
Well, yeah, I think that, because that's the whole point of like cooking in those weird, like on a volcano on the back of trucks. So you're basically training, and like those.
It's like a montage.
Yeah, like those obstacles are meant to make you like the master chef to save the world. I think it's an old god, not like an alien or anything like that. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know, I recommend it. It's a really fun couch co-op game, up to 4 people. But it has like that the new Super Mario Brothers syndrome, where like the more people you got, it gets inexplicably more chaotic. Which is fun to a degree before you guys start getting really frustrated.
It's because people won't stop jumping on your head, man.
Right over a pit and just fucking you over. They're like, I'm fine, don't worry.
Yeah, I made it. We're cool. We're not cool, by the way.
At all. No, but that I played a little bit on the PTR, and I tried out Sombra.
Oh, yeah?
She's pretty neat. I'm torn about her because her ultimates, like there's some things about her that seem really fucking like broken and overpowered. Like
yeah, but I mean most people I guess in a vacuum might seem that way.
Yeah, and it's also because I guess if you're on the PTR, you're doing like 6 Sombra versus like 2 Genjis, and It's very hard.
exactly.
But from what I've gathered, and like some of the matches that I played with, there were more than there was less than 6 Sombras. She doesn't have a lot of offense abilities. She only has I think like her automatic pistol, and that's all she has as far as offensive abilities. Everything else seems like she's got a lot of denials and like teleportation and the invisibilities and stuff like that. So she seems like a weird, like aggressive support character, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, a little bit. She just got a toolkit more than she's a damage.
Yeah,
dealer.
like her gun seems really broken, and overpowered. So they might nerf the damage on that a bit because the rate of fire is like ridiculous. But other than that, though, like she's got her ultimate that cancels everyone's ultimate, which is really cool. So you can kind of just shoot your MP out and then they can't act, which is really nice. She's got her grenade that it's like her ultimate is the hack and then her grenade is the EMP. The EMP grenade can shut down like Reinhardt's shield, which is really clutch. So if he's standing with his barrier up, like on one of those like the payload maps, you can literally just toss that behind him and then he's pretty much like out in the open. So she's a great like tank killer.
That's awesome. I was watching somebody play her, and they were on Hanamura, and they were chucking the teleporter through the window and then zapping to it, and then run around the corner there, hacking that health pack, and then putting the teleporter back down, and then running up to the capture point, and then just slaughtering people with that machine gun until they took too much, and then warping back to the health pack, setting it back up, and doing it again. And I'm like, she's going to be impossible to kill, because she has like that free escape button all the time, and the cooldown doesn't seem long enough to be prohibitive to that, because I think the range is very long too.
Yeah, from what I've noticed, I mean, like I don't think there's a very strict limit on how far back you can put it either. It's like Sombra's not Sombra, it's like Symmetra's little teleport thing, except it was a personal one.
Yeah, she was just always gone. And I do not, playing against her is going to be an absolute nightmare. Anytime you start to get her down, she's just going to disappear and come back with full health in 4 or 5 seconds or whatever.
So, yeah, I mean, but like I said, she seems fun enough, but I don't think she's going to be a character that I'm going to really play that much. Just because, at least for me, I think that you can get creative with her, but she's not my style of play. I guess she's very hit and run, I feel like.
Yeah, without a doubt. I saw that machine gun just
it melts to
decimate,
people,
just eliminate.
I think it's got like a 60 bullet clip, and then each bullet does like a really good chunk of damage. So I mean, if you can empty a clip on someone like it, you melt through them.
I watched a Roadhog just disappear like he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
there.
it doesn't have she can hack them and like negate the healing and everything like that. So you can't use. They can't. I think the way it works is you can't use any active abilities. So if you're like a Genji, you can still use your wall climb and everything like that. So that'll still work, but he wouldn't be able to use his like deflect or his stars because they're active on use abilities.
That's wild. It's gonna be very interesting to play against her. I've never really been much of a PTR kind of person. I tried it with Anna and I wasn't feeling it. I like to see them on the actual scene.
It's weird. Like I do PTRs once in a while just because sometimes I like to see them once they're live and all the bugs are worked out, because the PTR things aren't balancing. That's why they're on there, and I think it can kind of ruin almost the game for you when you play a character and you realize they're horribly broken. You're like, I'm not a fan of this, or you're playing it and you get really used to like a certain style of play, and then they either nerf it or patch something out, and then when they go live, you're like, this is nothing like I remember it.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. Good thoughts though.
And I didn't get a chance to play it, but I've been really looking at the Diablo 1. I guess it's not fair to call it a remake, but it's an event that's going to happen, and I think it goes live in a week or so. But they pretty much took Diablo 1 and they remade it using the Diablo 3 engine, and I guess what's going to happen is there's going to be an event where a portal is going to open up to Tristram, and then I guess you go back in time to like when Tristram first fell, and you kind of go through all like the old school Diablo 1 dungeons. From what I've seen, though, it looks really irritating because they wanted to give like that whole nostalgia feel for it, so it has like that old grainy filter over the game, and your mobility is limited to only 8 directions, like the old hexagon path that you could take in the first one.
Yep,
and that seems like a really cool idea off the bat, but I can't imagine playing 16 levels of a dungeon like that.
Gotta get that godly plate of whale, man.
It's all about the Cow King's leathers.
Or I wonder if the dupe bug is still in.
I don't think so.
It'd be a fun Easter egg, though, wouldn't it? Like none of the stuff comes back out with you through the portal, but you could still dupe.
Just dupe like 30 staff apocalypses.
Yeah,
I could see that. That'd be fun. No, but I mean, pretty much that. And then I tried my hand at the Skyrim Remastered Edition, or Legendary Edition, I guess is what they call it now. It looks nice, but it's nothing that, if you don't have it on PC modded, that you didn't have before.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I wasn't expecting too much.
No, I mean, it's kind of nice because if you own it on PC, like Steam or whatever, you actually get an automatic free upgrade to the Legendary Edition, which is just some high texture packs and things like that. But again, if you have any kind of like modicum of modding ability that you've sunk time to Skyrim, chances are you probably already have something more like robust than what the Legendary Edition offers.
Does mod support carry over?
Yeah, you need to update some of the mods though, because they break horribly. But I think most of them are actually already updated. It's still seamless though. You can just do Steam Workshop for all of them. Yeah, and
I mean, it's a fun little thing.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, this is something that was really geared more towards console players, honestly. That's what the feeling I get, because it came out for PS4 and Xbox One, and then now they have access to like the mod system as well. So I think this is more for them to kind of get a chance to play Skyrim, I guess the way it was meant to be played, quote unquote. But I mean, it's fun. It's Skyrim's one of those, or I mean, I know Chris hates Bethesda games, but for me, Skyrim is one of those games that you always go back and play once in a while just because.
Yeah, Skyrim's fine. I think Morrowind was my favorite.
Yeah, the expansion they had which was the Dragonborn expansion, was kind of cool because you got to go back to like a Morrowind-esque area, which is kind of nice.
I don't think I finished Skyrim, but I played it a lot when it first came out.
Yeah, they added in Dragonborn. It's like the last DLC that they had. You actually go to, I forget what the name is, but it's an island off the coast of Morrowind. So it has like a lot of like that. The architecture, and then you have like what are they called? The Striders?
Yeah,
those big ass like
the big flea things.
Those giant fleas.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool. Yeah, other than that though, not much more. A lot of World of Warcraft still going strong.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Okay. Well, that makes it up to me now. I played this week Factorio. I played a lot of that. It's a PC game where you're building a factory that produces stuff, basically. The goal is to build a rocket, and I this week finally got the rocket silo built, which is appropriate because it's basically just a giant hole in the ground that you just keep throwing resources into, is what it feels like. So you start out with nothing, and then you build this system of conveyor belts and assembly machines and machines that make other machines and stuff to extract the resources from the ground, and we just gradually get this whole thing up and running. And there's also an alien species that exists on the map in various hives and places, and as you build, your pollution increases, which triggers them to come and attack you, or you can just go clear them out.
Neat.
Yeah, that's like the back and forth of it. And they kind of get stronger as time goes on. So there's a little bit of you need to tech up at pace to be able to, stand your ground when they do come for you, since you're encroaching on their territory gradually more and more. It's pretty solid, man. It feels good. I tried to play that game a few times in the past and just couldn't really get into it. Like, got 2 recipes that involved like 3 or 4 ingredients, and trying to figure out how to run the belts and how to set up all the arms that pull things off the belts was just like, ugh, I don't want to do that. I'm done. And this time I learned like 3 things, and like these 3 pieces of information, I hit the ground running like a Looney Tunes character, like was spinning his feet in the air and then made contact with the ground and then just took off, and now like got over whatever hump it was that was between me and that game, and now I have like a sprawling mega complex, and it's awesome. And like those 3 things, 2 of them were ways to manipulate belts, and one of them was just a tip that said the world is basically infinite, so build bigger than you need. And that was super helpful. Like if you look online, you see designs that people make for iron smelting or something, and it's very compact and neat and comes together very well, and you see it. But the trick is that stuff's not necessary. You can just brute force the shit out of it. You can just make a straight line that goes on forever.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's kind of a good thing because it means that you don't have to worry about that stuff quite as much, like making it super clean and very efficient. You can brute force it, but you also then, or at least I did, run into the problem where then throughput becomes an issue. So you can have one belt and you can just stack, 100 forges on this belt, but then they can't supply enough because you're still limited by the one belt. So you need to kind of double it up or triple it up. So you have those two problems. Number one, how do I make enough? And number two, how do I get it where it needs to be? And, not eat so much of it that now I can't make enough, and then everything kind of spirals out of control. Those are interesting problems to solve, and being able to solve them in a way that I realized didn't have to be quite so neat and orderly made it a lot more fun for me.
How does the game handle like that aha moment? Because I know a lot of those resource management games kind of they fall into that trap that once you kind of figure out the systems, the game becomes trivial, or like at least the challenges of it does.
Yeah, it's not one big thing. I mean, I guess you could say those three things that I figured out were kind of my aha moment. It's a whole series of small logistical problems that are set up like dominoes.
Okay.
So I need more copper. Okay, how do I get more copper? All right, well, now I need more power to be able to feed the copper. And then, oh crap, my power runs off of coal, but I'm running out of coal. How do I... Okay, what's the first thing I need to solve here? Okay, how do I get the coal to the power plant so that I can get the power to the copper so that I can make more copper so that I can run enough to feed these machines that are making microchips? And so finding those problems and then tracing them all the way back down the line and then fixing them is like kind of the bulk of it. And when you build in a enormously wide expanse, not worried about space and just brute forcing a lot of things, it makes it so that you don't have to tear down quite as much to solve those problems. You can make some real stupid solutions that involve stuff routing over and under different things and around places to come back where it should be. Like these very, like my factory looks like a Gordian knot because I don't care anything about nice, neat, elegant belt design or moving things in a way that makes sense, because like once you get them where they need to be and there's enough of it, all the resources compress so that it's basically a full belt. It doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter if it makes a weird spiral pattern because you accidentally built something somewhere. You just go for it. And it's awesome. And it feels really good. Though the one problem I did have was they say, or this is a problem my sloppiness caused me, was I mixed oil and water in a series of pipes. Those do not. It's an absolute nightmare. So I accidentally ran a pipe too close to the end of a steam engine, and then water just flooded into the oil pipes. And that is the worst thing I've ever done, I think, in my life. Basically, they all back up and turn into water, and then you have to set up these pumps and tanks and try to pump the water out. But if you leave even one pipe that has any water in it, then the system, when you hook it all back up again because you think you got it, you ain't got it, because that one water pipe will expand itself even if it's just a little bit of water. There's no way to get it out of the system, and it doesn't push itself to the end and then stack water because the oil won't flow past the water. So this tiny bit of water will then replicate itself down through the entire pipe chain again until you find that one pipe that has like 4 drops of water in it or something. And so I destroyed and rebuilt this thing 4 times and couldn't find out where the water was coming from. And it was way down the line, like all the way down where my pumps were. And there was like 1 square of water down there that kept gumming up the whole works. And it's just like so frustrating. Don't mix your liquids. Like hands down, do not do that.
Good life advice.
But yeah, so what it does do well is this loop of having to do something manually and then figuring out how to automate it, and then the sweet, awesome moment of looking at it and going, yes, I never have to do that again. Like that core loop right there is just absolutely very well refined. And then eventually, so you build it, and then you kind of slap your hands together and walk away and do that. Yeah, great job, me. And then 2 hours later, that's not making enough. And you have the problem all over again where you need to scale it up and find a different way to do it. It's very cool. It's fun, man. I mean, that whole system and process is very cool to engage in. And there's a part where you can eventually make little flying robots that will run around your base and take stuff from places and put stuff down in places, even into your inventory. So if I drive away in my tank and I go kill some aliens and I come back, as soon as I get home to the base, there's like a wave of construction robots that flow out to welcome me home and repair my tank up to top notch. And it's like the coolest thing ever, this like sea of robots. But it's also, if I'm driving my tank through my base and I run into shit, then like they fly out one at a time to shame me for my terrible driving skills and repair the thing that I ran into. But just because up to the point that you build the flying robots, you've sort of like, okay, I'll make a box over here and I'll fill it with conveyor belts, and then you run out and then you run over to the box and you pick up more conveyor belts. Once you have the robots, you're laying down conveyor belts and they're flying in to drop more in your pocket at the same time. It's awesome. It's so cool. I'm not making it sound as cool as it actually is, but just like imagine after so many hours of having to do so much stuff manually, like it's just handled for you. And it's cool. And I got the rocket, and I'm currently shoveling resources into it, and hopefully I will launch it.
So how does it compare? Here's a question. How does it compare to RimWorld?
It's a totally different game.
Does it scratch kind of some of the same appeal that RimWorld did?
Maybe in a way. The combat is not as good, and it feels more about, I don't know, logistical systems maybe? I definitely see what you're saying there. There is some similarities. As far as, like, instead of dropping a conveyor belt, it would be scheduling work orders so that they run independently. Yeah, I guess I could see that a little bit. RimWorld's about so much more, though. And this game is just very cleanly focused on just making a super awesome factory. I do wish the combat was better in this one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe RimWorld tells more of a story, which I guess it's kind of designed to do. But yeah. No, you're right. The sort of untangling the mess you've made, they're definitely very similar in that regard. But it's pretty neat, man. I mean, it's worth checking out if any of that sounds interesting to you. I also played about an hour of Tyranny.
How was that?
It was pretty good.
You think
it was pretty good?
I know an hour is kind of short, but I guess the story that you were exposed to, do you think that's good enough to carry the game?
I'm interested to see what happens. I still have a revulsion for dialogue choices, as I always have, but I'm just kind of going with it, just winging it, just picking whatever I think is fun at the moment, and that's working for me. The combat is the same real time with pause that you've seen in Pillars of Eternity. Just different skills and stuff like that. Nothing too new. There was one neat moment where you're talking to, you have to solve this problem. You have to put down this rebellion in 8 days, or the Grand Overlord is just going to kill everybody in this valley. So the impetus of figure this out right now seems cool. I don't know if that's actually a false timer or if it matters. I haven't gotten far enough to figure that part out. But hopefully it does matter, and hopefully it does matter in a way that the game is short enough to maybe be replayable, because I normally wouldn't replay these games at all. So the interesting features that it has is the way when there's like a place or a person or a lore item that somebody's talking to you about and it shows up in text, you can hover over it to get more information, which is awesome if you forget, which I do, who this person is, where they come from, or what this faction is. Whatever. There's like little cliff notes in there.
I know that's an issue I have, like, especially when you take, like how you take those little hiatus from games, especially RPGs, where you're like, I'll come back to this in about a week, and then you come back and you almost feel like you need to restart because you have no idea where the hell you are.
Yeah, just none, right? And you're like, who is that? What city? Huh? Yeah, you just have no idea. It starts with a weird little choose your own adventure thing that I think sets the opening stages of the game, how you're aligned with certain factions and stuff. It's maybe 6 or 8 decisions, I think, that you make. Is
it like a tutorial level, or is it just kind of like you get presented this in a...
No. Okay. It's straight up text, man. I mean, it's text with a map and little pawns on the map and stuff, but it's pretty much just straight up text. Pick A or B.
This is what happens,
and so on. Yeah, and then do it 3
I might
more
dive
times.
into that. I don't know, like the company. I have good faith in the company, but again, it seems like a really big investment in regards to like the time sink for the game.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. I still am not even. I mean, I'm not 100% on board yet. I'm just kind of interested. So we'll see where it goes for sure. I like it so far. One of the things that was cool was that, like I was saying, that hover text. When you first meet the leaders of the two factions, one of the guys, it'll say like he was spinning his staff around or something, but it says spinning his staff around in the same color as the hover text, and then you hover over it and he's like actually talking to you with some weird telepathic sign language. Yeah, that was a neat trick. I don't know if there's more like that in the game, but that was kind of cool. It's an interesting way to use it. If I have more thoughts, I will relay them to you.
Nice.
Right now, I'd say it's a good setup, though. I mean, I'm interested to figure out what's going on.
Because I was eyeing that for a while, and I think the biggest appeal for me though was like the concept of tyranny, where you play as the bad guy.
Yeah, that's not so much as prevalent as I thought it was. It's not like an evil overlord has taken over the world, because it's not like he's necessarily evil. It's more like 4 kingdoms got into a fight and one of them just won really hard, because there's still bureaucracy and there's still trade. It's like evil in the way that anything not aligned with my personal values would be evil, right? He's just ruling the world in the way that any ruler would rule. It's just like the us versus
them, and they're evil because they're not us.
I think so. I mean, they're kind of dicks. I mean, to be fair, but they still like allow trade to happen. There's still bureaucracy. There's still a systematic sort of systematic system, to the way that the world is run. It's not just complete anarchy and chaos and like bloodbath all over the place, orcs running around and just chopping people's heads off. Like, it is still, the world's all controlled by one person, but it's still controlled by somebody. People still live their lives.
I'm probably going to jump into it, but once you get further, I'll actually be really interested in talking about the game itself, because I really want to talk about that whole concept. And I want to know if it was a bit of a misnomer on their behalf to pitch it as that, to say, play as a bad guy, versus, hey, this is just a game where your side happens to be like a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, I mean, that could be my own loose morals coming into play here, but
like that sliding moral system.
To me, I wouldn't necessarily call it like Sauron has taken over the world, or whatever the big bad is that you normally defeat in an RPG. That guy took over the world. It doesn't seem like that kind of game.
And that's what I was going towards, because the way they pitched it and the way a lot of the media outlets were kind of rumming it is that, you're going against the typical fantasy trope where, you're the hero and you're fighting against a big Sauron-style arch villain, where in this case, this is what happens if Sauron won. It seems like it's just more, hey, this is just, like you said, Genghis Khan taking over the world, and, you're just one of his generals.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would say it. It's more like Steve conquered the world, like not some ancient, powerful evil. Or maybe he is, and I just don't know it yet. I mean, that's possible too. But the things that I'm seeing of the world, it seems like there's so much order and structure there, and it doesn't seem like people are too terribly oppressed, at least from what I've seen. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, there might be more to it. Obviously, I've barely sunk in, but that's my initial impression. Cool. All right, that wraps up the What Have You Been Playing section for this week. Let's do some news. All right.
Did we find anything newsworthy, though, this week? Because I know it's been a bit of a slow week in games media in general.
Yeah, let's blame it on that and not my ability to cultivate such things. Let's talk about the tiny Nintendo instantly sold out in 4 seconds.
I feel like that was just planned from the start, because this isn't something new. Nintendo always has a really nasty habit of like underproduction.
Mm-hmm. Always. Everything they make, they underproduce. Yeah, absolutely. But the issue with this one was there were no pre-orders
first come, first
for
serve.
It. Yeah, that's the way it happened. And it is so unfortunate, because I've been able to subvert that process so many times by just getting my name on a list somewhere.
No, go ahead.
And And it comes out, and then I pick it up. No big deal. This time, the only way you were getting it is if you were waiting in line in front of the store when it opened. And
I like how
sucked.
Nintendo's like the one company that probably like flies in the face of the argument of never pre-order anything because they actually have a reason to warrant that. But it kills me because I don't know if Nintendo. This is something that they do at a conscious level where they say, "Hey, we're going to create an artificial demand by restricting the supply on our side."
Mm-hmm. I think it's a marketing thing.
Well, see, I don't know if it's a marketing thing where that's their actual end goal, or if it's just that Nintendo as a company, and just because I know Eastern philosophy is a lot more different in regards to when going to business as opposed to like Western. And I know over there, like modesty is a little bit more rewarded and pronounced. So I don't know if for them they just underproduce because they don't want to overextend the production line. And for them, it's better if, hey, let's underproduce, see how it goes, and then we'll go up to meet demand versus let's just create a fuck ton and hope they sell.
Yeah, I know they've announced on Twitter that there's more coming and stuff, but even if they didn't do it on purpose, it's still a really good marketing technique because now this is the Furby of this
like you said,
holiday
it's
season.
the first thing you hear. It's sold out. It must be good. So let me try and find it. And then when it it kind of it's like a feedback loop now because when it pops out, people are going to buy it and it's going to sell out just as quickly, and it's going to garner even more interest in it because of it.
Yeah. I think it started with the Wii. I think it happened completely naturally with the Wii, that they just weren't expecting that to take off the way it did, and everyone needed one. And then that garnered the hype behind it.
But then the Wii just kind of sat in the back room of a lot of stores.
Yeah, and I think since the Wii, after they saw the way that worked, they decided, well, if we do that the same with everything, if everything sells out instantly, then we'll have the same success that we had with the Wii.
Right.
Because a lot of those amiibos and stuff, they didn't do second runs of, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, if you didn't get it, then that's a shame.
I mean...
Yeah, but you could pre-order those. Like, I have a full set of amiibos because I was able to just go, here's $5. Tell me when they come out.
I mean, they even do the same thing with other like the limited edition DSs and stuff, or even their games. I remember I had a hard time finding when the new Fire Emblem, the Two Worlds one came out. It was impossible to find like the limited edition one because they had a reserve out for a day before they shut the SKU off. And again,
that's right. Yeah, and the Majora's Mask one was the same way.
They do it all the time. It's always like a very low number. And again, like I don't know if that's just because they're trying to be conservative with their amount and like, hey, let's just see how this goes. And maybe that's why they didn't have pre-orders for the Nintendo, like the mini Nintendo, because again, they're like, I don't know if this is going to sell well, so let's just throw this out in the wild and see what happens.
No, I was ready for it. I told you, like, I've spoken words on this podcast when we talked about it. I was like, we know they're going to sell out instantly, so I'm going to get a pre-order in and I'll be fine. I was wrong.
Maybe you heard that podcast and they should just spite you personally.
It's only certain stuff though, right? Because it's not as if like you ever hear about like a Pokemon and Sun and Moon just came out and they're completely sold out everywhere and no one can get a copy of the game. Every piece of software they release is absolutely fine. Everyone can get a hold of it. It's just when they do these hardware things.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. That is weird. Nobody's ever had a problem getting a Pokemon game, have they? That's unfortunate. Anyway, that whole situation's a huge bummer. They say more's coming. I hope they are. I hope that's true. Man. I mean, it's funny because it's not like something I even need. Like, I already have a setup to play emulated games with NES controllers. I know, I just want that tiny NES that fits in the palm of my hand. It's so cool. I want the controller cords are supposed to be really short, too, I also heard. Yeah, they're like 2.5 feet.
So is that like literally like played on your computer monitor distance?
That is very, very short.
Wow.
Yeah. But third-party market, I think, has already started to fill that gap. There's
I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't do a wireless one with it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would like that. We'll see. So, I mean, basically, you're almost in for more than you expected, kind of to begin with, because you're going to have to get the better controllers. No way 2.5 feet is enough. I'm not going to run HDMI across my entire living room. It's not going to happen. And also, the extra controllers are even more scarce than the systems themselves, so there's a lot of bummed out 2Ps floating around in the world. Some small justice, man. If you're a scalper, then just...
I mean, head to eBay, let's see.
Yeah, they're like $300 on eBay, if not more than that. And people are buying them. I mean, they are still going at that price.
That's probably like one of the like the to get items.
Man, it shouldn't be. It's so sad. Like I don't want it to be that. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Let's see. Let's just do a quick check. Let's see what they cost on eBay right now. eBay Classic NES.
Make sure you keep the typing sound so people actually know that you looked it up.
Okay, they know that I'm physically searching it. Looks like one of them sold for $5,000.
What? I was saying,
I don't think that's what they're generally selling for.
Must be nice to have $5,000 just to throw on an eBay auction.
Especially for $259.
What's the retail price?
$200.
Oof.
60. Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's happening. All right. Well, that's enough sad news. Let's see. Dishonored 2 is kind of busted on PC.
Not so much about that, but you made a really good point, and it kind of that's a bad way to get out of the gate, considering Bethesda's new review policy, where they're not going to send reviews the day before.
Yeah, that's a bad first one for the trust.
I remember our last podcast,
system.
Chris and I kind of got into an argument about that, and I was siding with Bethesda, saying, "Hey, it makes sense for them from a business standpoint because." They don't really need game reviews. People usually buy their products regardless. But then this comes out. I'm like, you know what, guys? I try giving you the benefit of the doubt, but you're making it very difficult.
Yeah, I wish I would have been here because my thought on it was like the 2-step removed argument, which was in the future when this system goes live, more people, if it works and more people buy the game earlier, which I assume is their motivation, but then the games are broken. Then less people pre-order and more people wait longer, which means that the system doesn't actually work in the long run, and pre-orders overall drop even more, which would be like a beautiful future. So I was wondering if maybe there was some good in there also if you just took it out.
That's,
a year or two.
I guess that was the point that I was going from. That I mean, Bethesda can do whatever they want as a company, but I think it's gamers in general are the ones that need to take it upon themselves to control that outcome, like you said. If they keep releasing at least for the PC crowd, because I think those are the ones who are really hurting by this. That if they keep releasing these really shitty PC ports, they need to start. You know what? Let's start pre-ordering less and waiting a little bit more.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that'd be great. And then my other thing I was thinking was that maybe to the end user, the bugs that critics would find, large or upsetting, maybe the normal people don't even see those. And if it's true that they could have just played the game with rose-colored glasses, then why put stuff out there that is arguments to the opposite that they could potentially come across? So I don't know. Who knows? But a bad way to come out with that. I'm sure I think they're going to fix it.
I think there's a patch already released for PC. But again, like you said, this does not do a lot of well to kind of reinforce their new embargo policy.
Yeah, just don't pre-order games. Just hang out for a day or two. It's not going to hurt you too much. All right, I guess that about covers everything I've got. You guys have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, not news-wise, but I thought like a fun segment because I remember you guys were talking on Slack a bit, but just talk about like what your worst game you've played has been.
Yeah, that was a tough question, Jamie. What is the worst game I've played? That was a hard one because every game has something redeemable, and I also think that I tend to remember the good ones more than the bad ones.
Even Bad Rats.
Even Bad Rats. Even Bad Rats is like redeemed by the fact that it's such a phenomenon.
A cult classic.
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that are bad but are good.
See, that was my mentality with Deadly Premonition, where when it first came out, Jamie had the perfect word for it. It was janky. It's just it felt broken. And I don't know, man. Like I know you are supportive of the atmosphere it tried to create, but for me, it just came off as like really choppy and hammy acting. Like voice acting was awful on it. It literally, for me, it reminds me of like The Evil Dead when it first came out, where it was trying so hard to be like a horror movie, but it was just so campy and overdone that people like laughed at it. And then eventually they said, you know what? Let's just fucking embrace this. And then they came out with the Evil Dead trilogy, Army of Darkness, and they just kind of went full ham. And I think that's what they did because they released the Deadly Premonition director's cut, which I think at that point they were like, you know what? Let's just go full crazy and just admit that this is just like a schlocky, janky like homage to old horror games, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, like I think it was all like part of the charm. Like I said, it was very Twin Peaks, the whole atmosphere and all the weird stuff that was going on, and like kind of minor fourth wall breaking weird moments where they played around with like the non-diegetic sound and stuff. I thought that was really cool. It's a charming game, to say the least. I think that's the best way to sum it up. It's charming.
All right, well, that's what we'll call it. We'll say charming.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, man, if you're out there and you've got an idea for the worst game that you've ever played, send it in. I guess we'd love to hear it. Why not? I also said Incredible Crisis, which had terrible controls, but was also hilarious. It's like a Japanese game. You're a businessman, and you have to, like, getting up the elevator. No. You have to go to office aerobics, and that's like a DDR rhythm game. And then you have to get up the elevator, and then like you're stuck on the end of a flagpole, and then you get chased by a big rolling boulder. It's like a series of mini games that are all infuriating to control, but the whole situation is very funny.
Let's see if we can get anything that tops Right to Hell Retribution.
Oh my god, I remember that. Oh no, that game is awful. You're right. I played that. I tried it because we had a thing when I was working at GameStop where we'd like recommend shitty games to each other. And somebody recommended that to me, and I remember getting stuck on one particular area where, for whatever reason, it was right on the highway, and I think it was like the middle of Nevada, and you have to like jump over a ramp. And for whatever reason, when I jumped over the ramp, I would fall through the world, and it just got stuck in that one scene over and over again. Quite awful.
Cool.
And
yeah,
while we're
add
talking
that to the
about
list.
terrible games, let's not forget that November the 14th is the official 10-year anniversary of Sonic 06.
Ooh.
Wow.
So, yeah. Let's all celebrate by playing Sonic 06.
I won't. I mean, you can if you want to. That's the weird realistic one, right?
Kind of. Yeah, it's like set in like a little Italian type town where there's real people, and it's terrible.
What the hell happened with Sonic, man? They were really running out of ideas.
There's a new one coming out though that looks pretty.
Yeah,
good.
but isn't that like more of like the classic style one?
Yeah, basically. They've basically just hit the reset button. They've gone right back to the Mega Drive or Genesis days.
I mean, it's like Pac-Man
and
World.
It's like
taking
16-bit game.
A character that's been in like a really simplistic 2D plane and suddenly giving it like a 3D treatment that just doesn't really make sense.
It makes a rocking kart racer, though.
Not gonna lie.
That is true. We're going to leave you with those thoughts, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here. As always, selectcharacters@gmail.com is the email address if you want to get in touch. Send us your questions, thoughts, on, etc. You can find us on our Discord channel. You can find us on Twitter and various social media all over the place. If you want to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes or however you consume podcasts, whatever your network of choice is, we would really appreciate it. And I think that about wraps up all the outro business. Until then, we will see you next week, and thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.